Happy Apple Core Homestead. I have a really big treat for you today. I am here with Gabrielle and we are going to talk about large farm animals.
We have 3 Nubian goats on our farm, as well as 2 horses and a donkey. Everybody has decided to walk away. I don't know if you can see them. But we have tried really hard to integrate all of our animals in a way that they can live together and kind of help each other out. That's one of the things that I've tried really hard to do, is create systems where everybody works nicely together. So our donkey is coming over to say hi. Our goats, you can see, are right here. And the donkey is actually a protector animal. So one of the reasons that we got our donkey is that she actually helps keep everybody safe. As you can see, our goats are a little bit on the smaller side. They are not full grown yet. And so the donkey, again, helps to keep them safe from coyotes or any other predators that might be in the area. And she actually does a very, very good job with that. She's also been used to help keep our chickens safe, and we have not lost a chicken to a coyote since we have had her. Although our chickens don't free range all the time, they spend their nights in the coop. So this is Morrigan. She is a female goat. This is Finn. She is also a female goat, just a little bit smaller than Morrigan. And the other one, the brown goat, is Fen. He is our only boy goat, and he is a wether, so he's been castrated. He will not make any babies, which is a good thing because he's related to both of these ladies.
Oh, look who's coming to visit. Hello.
This is my old man horse. He's a little bit overly friendly. And as you can see, everybody kind of gets along really, really well. I've actually been really surprised that the goats love to hang out with the horses, and vice versa. My young horse, who is not present at the moment, is actually the one who loves the goats the most. And they love him. Is there anything else in particular that...
So what is the most important piece of advice you would give to somebody who is looking to add goats or a horse or a donkey to their homestead?
Have good fencing. Fencing is incredibly important, and it will make your life a lot easier. Chance, back up. Back up. Large animals require significantly more fencing than I think most people kind of think about.
Yeah.
We have 5-foot-high woven wire around the perimeter of our property with 2 strands of hot wire. Horses, actually, out of all of the large species we've had, I think have been the easiest to keep in, surprisingly. Not every horse is easy to keep in. There's the baby horse. Not every horse is easier to keep in, but horses are quite respectful of hot wire, and most horses, as long as they're not particularly motivated to jump out of a pasture, will stay in actually kind of a lower fence than they are capable of jumping out of.
Nice.
Goats are notorious for jumping out of fences.
They can jump like way over, like how high can they jump?
So these guys can jump over like a 3.5-foot fence.
Okay.
If they're motivated. Now, the edge of this pasture is lower than the fence that they have jumped over, but because they're hanging out with the ponies, they haven't tried to.
Okay.
And it also has the hot wire, which is a nice little deterrent. We also had a cow for a while, and the cow just literally bowled through every fence. And that's part of why we don't have him anymore. And he would play in the hot wire. So the goats, at least, are quite respectful of the hot wire, which is a fairly high strength hot wire. It's like cow strength hot wire. And the cow that we had, he would literally wrap his head in the hot wire and play in it.
Do you think you'll get another cow?
My partner really wants another cow. I think that with the amount of property that we have, we're kind of maxed out on large animals. You can see that our pasture, this is where the horses have spent the winter. If you can see the foreground here, you can see how well grazed it is.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what our pasture looks like. Obviously, we haven't hit the high growing season in terms of grass growth, but I don't want to overstretch our pasture.
Yeah.
And it also, if we get a cow, it would be to process the cow and have a meat supply, which is less useful if you're buying it hay all winter long. So I don't know that we'll get another cow, but the large animals that we have now, I think might be kind of maxing out our pasture capacity.
And how expensive would you say it is to have quite a large animal on your homestead or your farm?
It really depends on the systems that you have in place and which large animal that you have. Was somebody mean to you? Was somebody mean to you? Yeah, did a donkey bite you?
Oh no.
I don't know who got him, but he came running over. So the goats really are not that pricey. You kind of have to have this set up. So the fencing is a significant cost. They also do have their own shed, and they love their shed. I highly recommend having a shed if you have goats. I know that people do keep them with no shelter, but they love their shed. They would be very sad goats if they did not have their shed.
And so what would you recommend somebody who doesn't have a shed but lives in a cold climate and wants to have a goat? Or even if it's in, so we're in Zone 8B here in the Pacific Northwest, would you recommend somebody get a goat if they didn't have a shelter?
I would recommend having some type of shelter. It doesn't have to be a fully enclosed shed. If the run-in is in the video, I think that would probably be sufficient.
So even if it's like this, let
like
me see if I can
three-sided,
show you guys what it looks like.
it still provides significant protection from the elements, and that's all the horses have, even during the coldest weather. I also think that our goats, one, were raised with a barn, and so moving them from a situation where they were used to having that shelter and then now don't is a little bit harder on them. So
Yes.
having goats that were raised outside and having adult animals, because our goats were also quite young through the winter, and I think that was a contributing factor.
Yeah.
Certainly there are a lot of people that have goats outside all year round. They're quite designed to do that.
Okay. Even in super cold climates, do you think?
I think it probably depends on the goat that you have.
Yeah.
So picking a breed of goat. Nubians, for instance, were bred for quite warm climates.
Okay.
Now, again, I know people that keep Nubians outside all year round. We found that ours were getting a little cold, and so they spent a significant amount of time over the winter locked in the shed.
Yeah.
When we had those really cold temperatures.
Yes.
I would make a plan for a place for them to be, whether, again, it's a run-in, whether you're pulling a heat lamp out to the run-in in, the 10-degree weather that we had this year.
Right.
But they should be able to live outside the majority of the year.
Okay.
And there are certainly people that, again, have them living out on pasture and they don't have the goat mansion that we provide for them. But they do really like the goat shed, so having some place for them to go, I think, is really helpful.
And does that work the same with hot weather as well, or do you supplement, somehow when it's like super hot, over 100 degrees or over 90 degrees? Is there something special you do for them to care for them in that way?
So again, these goats should be fairly well adapted to hot weather. Washington really doesn't get that hot.
Yeah, we're kind of right in the middle most of the time.
The big thing with any animal species that you have, but large animals in particular, is making sure that they have clean, fresh water available at all times. And then making sure that they have some type of shade. Hey bud, let's not knock the camera over. Hey, Altair, come on. Go boy. Making sure that they have some type of shade.
Yeah.
So a large tree that provides shade, again, the run-in would be entirely sufficient for that.
Yeah.
None of the animals here have shown any signs, or large animals have shown any signs of stress in the heat.
Nice.
The only species that we have on the farm that has shown signs of stress in the heat are the geese that we have.
Okay.
And they are a heavy German breed, so not really designed for the warm weather.
So for the geese, do you give them like a pool, or how do you support their body temperature?
We make sure that they have a pool, and then I will actually hose down the entire inside of the coop so that they get some evaporative cooling.
Nice.
You can also use misters. Like I've seen a lot of horse places, especially in California where I came from, where they put up little mister strips, so it just mists water down, and then again that evaporative cooling can be really, really helpful, which also helps to repel flies. Hi, Fen. These guys have not had any trouble with the heat. The horses have not had any trouble with the heat.
Yeah.
They get a little bit lazier in the summertime.
Sure.
Yeah, and then other than that, clean, fresh water available at all times. Their hay requirements are fairly minimal.
Okay.
They probably, with the pasture that we have, go through a flake and a half, so probably 5 to 10 pounds of hay a day between the 3 of them.
Okay.
Which is really not, depending on where you get your hay, it's 10 to 14 dollars a bale for, a 60-pound bale.
Yeah.
So really not substantial in terms of hay costs. Goats are designed for kind of very rough forage. So one of the considerations, particularly with our boy goat, that you do have to be very, very careful with is they are very prone to urinary stones.
Oh, okay.
So the type of hay is important. They cannot handle alfalfa.
Oh, that's good to know.
It is. So a nice, boring, cheap grass hay is perfect for them.
Nice.
If you've noticed, one of our girl goats is a little bit smaller than the other two.
Yeah, a little bit.
And she's got a little bit of a rougher coat. So we've been supplementing her. The cold was hard on her. So she got a little dog blanket that she wore. Aww. And then we've been supplementing the two girl goats with grain.
Nice.
However, again, you have to be very careful with the boys because they are so prone to urinary stones. Grain and alfalfa are the two main reasons why you will see urinary stones.
That is really good advice. I don't know that people would automatically, correlate the male and female dietary needs. So I think that'll be really helpful for our viewers to know that.
And that's actually, fun fact, very true in a lot of species where boys have long, skinny urethras. They're much more prone to blockages. Girls have wider, open urethras that are shorter. They're more prone to urinary tract infections.
Okay, makes sense.
Goats in particular, urinary, and I believe sheep as well, urinary issues are urinary stones are a particularly big issue because there really isn't any, once they've had stones, there really isn't anything that you can do long term to fix it.
Oh, really?
And so it's kind of, that's the end, more or less.
Right.
Unless you can change diet. If you can get them through the episode and you can change the diet substantially, it may be a better outcome.
Yeah.
Which is actually why I hadn't planned on getting a boy goat, and then we just fell in love with Fred, and now we have a boy goat. But yeah, so we do manage him very, very carefully. Forage is great. Goats are grazers and browsers, and particularly browsers.
Okay.
Which means they love to, like the little pine trees that are hanging down, they love to chew on those. Anything new, they like to taste a lot of different variety. As opposed to the horses, which are just grazers, they just eat the grass. So forage is fantastic for goats. And then that kind of boring grass hay is the alfalfa and the grain that we want to steer clear of to the boys.
So you probably don't want your goats in your garden.
No, for a variety of reasons. That goes back to the good fencing.
Yes.
You really won't have much of a garden if your goats get into your garden, which I think is the biggest issue.
Yeah.
I don't think that, other than toxic plants, it would be particularly bad for them to sample your garden. But they will sample literally everything in your garden.
Just like one little bit here, one little bit there.
Or they might find something they really like and eat your entire plant.
Oh, down to the ground.
We have a camellia bush in the front that for some reason is the bush everybody loves. We're not that attached to it, so it's fine. But the donkey will go right to it, the cow would go right to it, and when the goats have been in the front, they will go right to it too.
Now, do you think if you left the horses out, like if you had a garden out here, but only horses, what do you think they would, other than maybe trample it if they felt like it?
The horses are significantly less destructive, again, because they're grazers.
Yeah.
We have to be a little more careful because of the donkey. She is a grazer and browser. Donkeys are a little bit of a hybrid. The one plant that we've had trouble with the horses definitely eating are the strawberry bushes.
Oh, yeah.
They like the strawberries. So we try to keep them out of the garden. But for the most part, as long as we're kind of around, we actually do use the horses as lawnmowers in the front where our garden is.
Oh, nice.
And for the most part, they stick to the grass. They'd much rather eat grass than most other interesting plants.
Yeah. And what do you think about, like, how do you build a relationship with your large animals? Like, how do you bond with them?
So really, positive reinforcement for any species is going to be the scientifically proven way to create a bond and a relationship and teach any animal anything.
Yeah.
And at first, that's a lot of what it is. I try to make sure that every animal, or the large animals at least, chickens excluded, get direct interactions with us every single day.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be a big deal. For the goats, that's feeding them grain. So everybody gets a little handful of grain, the girls get grain dumped in a bucket, and then the boy comes on a walk with me so that he doesn't eat the grain.
Okay.
The horses might get a couple cookies. Every single day they get a pat and some cookies. Obviously the horses have a little bit of a larger purpose, and so the old man is my riding horse, the young horse is in training, And so I try to work with him, actually work with him several days a week. And the donkey is somewhat in between. She's a little bit more of a pet, but we really do try to take her out at least a couple times a week, brush her, take her on walks. She loves going on walks.
Does she?
She loves going on walks.
And she's like, where's my cookies?
Right? And really just having that positive time. Let's see if she'll do her trick. Can you smile? Smile! Smile!
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to do a close-up with the camera so that all of you guys can see the donkey smile. It is so cute.
I might have to get some cookies to get a good smile. Can you do it again? Smile! Yeah, you're a good girl.
You're a good girl.
Yeah. But yeah, her function is to be a companion for the horses and then a guardian animal. And then, we have taught her to wear a little pack, so you can lead her around wearing a pack.
Yeah.
We have big plans that someday we'll have barbecue and she'll wander around with a pack of beer.
Oh, that's so fun. Give her a job to do.
Yeah, her jobs are limited. But yeah, we try to interact with them every day, and that's kind of the big thing.
Yeah.
I think for somebody who's never worked with large animals, having an animal as large as a horse, or horse particularly, is not maybe the best first animal.
Right.
Goats are really great because even though they're a large animal, they're still small enough that they can't do that much damage to you.
Yeah.
And donkeys just tend to be a little bit quieter of a personality.
Yeah.
They have a reputation for being very stubborn. They're not really that stubborn, they're just not flight animals the way horses are. They fight, which is why they're great guardian animals.
Yeah.
But it also makes, if you kind of see how the horses are all over the place, she just kind of hangs out.
Yeah, she's very sweet.
She just kind of wants to hang out with you and stand still. And she actually is the most trustworthy of my 3 equines around small people or people who don't know how to work around animals.
Yeah.
And she's still very young. She's only 4 or 5 years old.
Nice, sweet girl.
So I think donkeys are a little bit of a better choice just because of the nature of their personalities.
Yeah.
Than a horse.
Do you recommend any special like training or classes, or what do you recommend for those who are watching who would love to get a donkey or a horse or even a goat? Where do you recommend they start educating themselves before they actually make the plunge?
Yeah, so with equines, I would highly recommend maybe not working with donkeys specifically, but having some actual lessons in handling horses.
Yeah.
They're a larger animal, horses or donkeys, they're just larger. The handling is a little bit different, and there's just not as much room for error, because if they do something naughty, there's the potential to get injured.
Right.
They also have specific requirements with having their feet trimmed. I trim all my animals' feet, but most people will have a farrier come out and trim their feet. I think goats are a little bit more beginner friendly. The trimming you can do with a pair of garden shears. It's really not that challenging. You just kind of trim off the excess.
Right.
So I think goats would be very approachable for somebody who had never had a large animal. And there's a great book, I think it's the same series, like Stories Guide to Backyard Chickens.
Okay.
But I have it in the house, so I can grab it. And
so you guys, we'll link up that book so you can check it out, just to give you some more research that you can. Hi, sweetie. Okay, sorry you guys. I'm distracted by all the loves. I will link up the book that she's. Oh, my hair. You guys, if your hair is as long as mine, you may want to pull it back.
Connery.
Hi, baby.
This is our ranch dog in training. His name is Connery, and he's learning how to be a good boy. He's not even 6 months old yet. And he came from Resilient Hearts Animal Sanctuary out of Seattle. They did a phenomenal job and have been great to work with. Yeah, and he's our new rescue pup. Yeah, but like I said, back to the goats. I think goats are very approachable for a first-time large animal owner.
Yeah.
And the other resource that's been really great, because these are my first goats, was actually the woman we got the goats from. Most people who have goats and you're getting a goat from are really happy to share information.
Yeah.
And want everything set up for success for you.
Exactly.
And so we got quite a bit of information from her in the lead up to picking up goats.
Okay. So you guys, I will link up the books. I will also link up it was a sanctuary where you got?
Resilient Hearts Animal Sanctuary. I believe they do dog adoptions only, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, well we'll link that up in the description, so if you guys want to check out what they have, maybe donate to the charity. I'm sorry you guys, the sun is in my face, there are like bombs going off in the background, so I'm a little bit distracted. Hi. Friends, I have friends. And also my friends don't like it when I'm hollering at the camera. So I think you guys, we're gonna go. And I thank you so much for tuning in. Please thank my friend Gabrielle for sharing her information. If you guys have questions, please put them down in the comments and we will try to get back to you as soon as we can. And I think we'll just do a really quick tour. We'll see if we can get Miss Donkey, what's her name again? Zuni, to give you a little smile, and then we're gonna be done for the day, okay you guys? So I'm gonna send you on over to get a close-up of the animals.
Ready, Zuni? Smile! Smile!
So cute!
You can have one too. Okay, Zuni, wanna do it again? Smile! Smile! Good girl. You don't smile. You back up though. Back up. Back up. Good boy. Yeah, you back up too. Back up. Good boy. Yeah, I know. Cookies the best time of day. Cookies are the best time of day. Zuni, smile. Can you even see your smile? Smile. Get a better one. There we go. And if anyone's wondering what this blue hanging ball is, it is a treat toy. So we put cookies in it and the horses banging around and get cookies out and it just keeps them occupied. It's just a nice little form of enrichment that we have.
Do you also put up cabbages for your chickens?
I absolutely do.
Me too.
I'm really big into enrichment.
Yes.
So we try really hard to make things interesting and fun, and the horses have cones and toys and balls and things that they can play with. The goats have a nice big like wooden spool that they can play on when they're down in the front pasture. And then the chickens absolutely get cabbages, and we give them leaves with like mealworms and stuff buried in the leaves. And
so fun.
Yeah. So this is our slow feeder. This is one of the systems that we have set up to make our lives better and enrich the animals' lives. The slow feeder is amazing. One, because horses are really designed to graze all day long, and so this is a way that they eat slowly and we can provide them with hay all day long. And two, because we can throw an entire bale in there and the horses eat it as they eat it, and it means that we don't have to feed twice a day. So with all 3 horses, we throw a bale in there about once a day if they're not eating any grass. And that is the extent of our feeding duties. And you can see that the goats thoroughly enjoy it as well.
And the horses don't get jealous?
If you had more than 3 horses that got along well, you'd need to have multiple.
Okay.
Our animals do really well together. It was a little, when I first brought the new horse home, we had to give him a separate feeder because the other 2 were kind of hogging the slow feeder.
Yeah.
But now that everybody gets along, you know, they're not eating all day long. So if somebody didn't get a chance to eat when everybody else is hogging the feeder, they just come over and eat when they're ready to. And it's really worked beautifully for us.
Nice. Oh, I love it.
I'm gonna get hit by that. Yeah. Ha. And this, interestingly, this guy is my new baby horse, and he came from the BLM, so he was a wild Mustang, and you can see that because he's got the Wild Mustang brand. So about 1.5 years ago, he was completely wild, living in the wild deserts of California, and now he's fully domesticated. He has embraced the domestic life.
Aww.
Yeah, but this is his BLM Mustang brand right there.
And tell our viewers what that means.
BLM is Bureau of Land Management. So the U.S. government is in charge of a lot of the wild Mustang herds that still live in the United States. So we have a variety of different, they're called herd management areas or HMAs that house or support Mustangs. And one of the BLM's jobs is to make sure that the horses all have enough food, water, forage. And obviously these are wild horses, so we're not supplying hay, but the populations will grow to extend beyond what the herd management areas can support. And so the excess horses are removed from the wilds, brought to holding facilities, and then adopted out to the public. So that is how I got this guy. He is a $125 horse.
You're kidding.
Nope. And
but it probably takes some special knowledge, training to take on a wild horse.
Absolutely. That is.
You wouldn't want somebody to just go hit up the BLM and be like, hey, can I have a horse?
Nope. And there are fencing requirements that you have to have when you first bring home an ungentled horse. I have been working with horses since I was 6.5. I've trained a variety of horses, and I still did not want to bring home a completely ungentled horse. So he is my $125 horse that I spent about $5,000 in training in the first few months for. So when I brought him home, I could put a halter on him, I could pick up his feet. He obviously is friendly and understands what cookies are.
Yes.
And we've been working. I've had him for probably about 9 months here now. Yeah, you can see that he is doing a very good job of pretending that he was born domestic.
He really is. He is beautiful and very friendly.
He's very, very friendly. Yeah.
And tell us what his name is again?
His name is Altair, Altair. And that means like soaring eagle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Altair. Thank you, Gabrielle. We appreciate your time. Thank you for letting us visit with your large animals.
Yeah.
You guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, please put them down in the comments and I can reach out to Gabrielle and try to get some good solid answers for you. I appreciate your time and thank you for watching. Bye.